So using perhaps a prop, if you want to, when you lay down on the floor, maybe you want to put a prop under your head, and then just keep your yoga block nearby so that you can grab it as we come down. And you can start with your knees bent, or you can have your legs straight. If you straighten out the legs and it starts to feel aggravating in your lower back, go ahead and put a prop underneath of your legs if you want to stay with your legs extended, or just keep them bent with the feet wide and just drop your knees in towards each other, and that should release any tension in your lower back. All right, we'll put our hands onto your lower belly and just close your eyes, settle in. And just take a deep breath in through the nose, and we'll exhale, sigh it out through the mouth. So we'll start just by checking in with your breath today, noticing if the breath feels like it's getting stuck anywhere, if it feels shallow, or if it feels like really deep and it's coming all the way down to your belly. So just noticing it without any judgments. Noticing anything that is distracting you in your mind. So perhaps some thoughts, worries, anything that's going on. And we'll try to set those aside as we stay focused on the breathing and then any sensations in your physical body. So especially just checking in with your hips. So that would be like anything that's around your hips, could be your joints, could be muscles, ligaments. So any tension that you're holding in your glutes, in your front of your hips, hip flexors, maybe some tightness even in your lower back, around your sacrum. And just try to soften and let go of any of that tension that you might be feeling, letting it release down into your mat. And then checking tension even in your upper body, so maybe around the shoulders, even in the jaw. So try to keep your jaw unclenched. Now just take a few more breaths. Just allow the breath to flow deeply, fully, smoothing it out. And then we'll move our hands up to heart center, just placing your hands over your heart. We'll begin with an intention for your practice today. And then once you've set your intention, we're going to release your arms down. And then you're just going to let your knees kind of move in towards your chest. So don't hold your legs initially, just let your knees drop in, separate them a little wider, and then just allow them to gently rock from side to side. So you're feeling this little bit of movement here. Feel your lumbar spine, maybe feel your back hip points pressing into the mat as you gently rock right to left. And then come to center, and then just placing your hands just right on top of your knees or perhaps your shins. And then just let the knees separate a little bit more and just kind of feel your hips. Maybe just do a little bit of gentle rocking here. Letting the bones just kind of sink in. So you're wanting your thigh bones to drop into your hip sockets. And then we're going to extend the legs up. And then we're just give them a little shake here. Just shake them out. And again, just feeling like the bones are kind of dropping in here. And then we're going to set our feet down. So if you have a prop under your head, you're going to go ahead and remove that first. And we're going to set it aside. Just make sure you have space behind you, because we are going to be doing some flowing movements with the arms too. So step your feet in nice and close to your glutes so that they line up with your sitting bones. You can reach down with your fingers and just touch your heels to make sure that they're close. And then you're going to lift up your toes and then set your toes down. So really important when you start to do your bridging is that we don't lose the connection with our feet on the ground. So as you're pressing into the toes, toe mounds and heels, making sure you could feel the whole foot on the floor. All right, so we're going to start with a breath. We're going to inhale through the nose. And as you exhale, we're going to lift the hips up. So just straight up, just try to keep your spine neutral and then just lower down, let the sacrum touch. And then we'll do it again. So just let the hips come up a few inches. We're not coming up high as we begin. We're just warming up. So this is not going to be your deepest, fullest bridge pose. And then we're going to add the arms with this. So the next time your hips lift, you're going to fold the arms up and stretch them over your head. And then you're going to let your hips come down first, and then the arms will follow. We'll do that again. So lifting up the hips, reaching the arms overhead. Let the hips come first, and then let the arms follow. And then repeating that, we'll do about 3 more of these. They'll come up together, and then the hips will lower, and then the arms. A couple more. Hips first, and then arms, and then 1 more. And then lower and release the arms. And then we'll separate the feet wide as your mat. And we're going to do windshield wipers. So I want your knees to drop. Just let them go as far as you can get them to go. Bring them back to center and then go the other way. So the legs being separated is really going to feel that in the front of your hip. So you'll notice, you'll feel a stretch here along the front of your hip where your hip flexors are. Keep going with it, just going at your own pace. You can close your eyes. You can just let your head gently rock to the opposite side of the knees. Just keep the shoulders connected to the mat as you move from side to side. Do 1 more, and then we'll bring our legs back to center. And then you're going to use your block here, and we're going to bring the block between your inner thighs. So go ahead and place it there, and then your feet will come back to the floor. So now we're going to lift up your legs. You're going to float them up, and you're going to have your knees right over top of your hips. Okay, so you're going to do this is called tabletop, and that block is right there. So arms are going to be grounded on the floor. So hands all the way up to shoulders. You're going to squeeze that block as you exhale, and then inhale, relax it. We're going to start to move our legs from side to side. So let your legs just go slowly over to your left. Right, keep the shoulders down. As soon as you start to feel that right shoulder come up, squeeze the block, exhale, bring your legs back to center. So we want to move the hips, but we want to try to keep that upper body connected to the floor. So this will work in a little bit of your obliques and your core as well. And just exhale, bring it back to center. Okay, just keep those shoulders, and you want to try to use your opposite side obliques to bring your legs, to help bring the legs back into center. So you can kind of pull there with your opposite ribs. Let's do 1 more each side. And then you'll come back to center, let your feet come to the floor, and just take out your block outside of the side. Knees come into chest. Hands are going to go right on top, and let's go ahead and make some circles here. And go the other direction with your circles. And then we're going to roll to our side, and we're going to come up to tabletop. So using whatever props that you want. So if you want to put something under your knees or your wrists, go ahead and grab those. And we'll make our way into our tabletop position. So your hands are going to be right under the shoulders, knees under hips. So make sure your legs are separated. Your knees are, if they're too close together, it's not going to give you stability. We want stability. So make sure that the knees are lined up with the hip joints. All right, spread out those fingers, and you're gripping the mat here. So we're going to do a little bit of movement of the hips and pelvis. So we're going to just start with just the lower spine, right? So try to just stay really still in the upper body and just start to tuck and tilt. Tailbone lifts, and then tailbone draws down. And then just feeling that in your lower body. So checking in with the glutes. Noticing any sensations in the pelvic floor and the front of your hips. And then we're going to move it up the spine. So we'll go into your cow pose first, so lifting up the tailbone. So we'll initiate the movement at the tailbone and then keep coming up the spine, draw the shoulders back, and your gaze will be forward. And then as you exhale, you're going to start the movement from your tailbone. So draw the tailbone down, lifting up the belly, rounding that upper back, and then you're going to looking between your legs, and then starting at the tailbone, lifting it up, and then all the way up the spine to the crown. And then start your tucking of your tailbone. So the last thing will be moving will be the head and neck. And then do it again, lifting up tailbone, moving all the way up the spine, ending with the neck and then the top of your head. 2 more like this, curling. It's almost like, feels like a little wave moving through your body. And then as you finish up, we'll finish up in cow pose. So your tailbone will be lifted. And then as soon as you get that tailbone lifted, gaze lifted, we're going to move back into our child's pose. So separate the knees a little wider, keep your tailbone lifted, and stretch your hips back. So you're coming back almost like in your cow pose. And then you can soften the upper body and then the head and neck. And then see if you can feel that stretch all the way back into your lower back and then into your hips. And you can even feel the stretch in your glutes as well. So we're stretching out the glutes, we're stretching out the pelvic floor, we're stretching out the lower back. Your last breath, reach your arms forward. So let's lift the elbows first, look forward, and then come all the way back up. And as you come back up, play with your hips again. So just maybe doing a couple of tucks and tilts. We're going to try to find neutral, right? So if you lift your tailbone, tuck your tailbone, and then find the place in the middle where you're holding your neutral spine. So looking between your hands, we're going to take a breath in through the nose. Let's exhale through your mouth and feel your lower abdominals engaging. And then we're going to reach the right leg back. So we're lengthening it back. And then if you lift your leg up too high, so do that just to see what it feels like here. You'll feel like a little bit more like pinching in the lower back. So lower your legs so you do not feel that. And then make sure you're really holding your core tight. So flex your foot, toes are pointing down, inner thighs, or feel like they're lifting up towards the sky. And then left arm comes forward. So we're holding the balance. You should definitely feel like your glutes are engaged. They're holding the leg back there. Good. Exhale, release back to tabletop. And we'll do that again with just moving your tailbone, lifting it, drawing it down, finding your neutral. Exhaling, drawing your lower abs in, extending left leg back. So lifting up the foot. And then if you lift it up too high, you might feel a little bit more uncomfortable here in your lumbar spine. So don't lift it up too high. So keep it either at hip height or even a little lower. And when you're ready, right arm comes forward. Hold it here, breathe. Keep pressing down into your left hand, right knee, so we're stabilizing. And then releasing, coming back to tabletop. All right, let's tuck our toes under. We're going to come into downward facing dog pose. So first, let's go ahead and try that. Lifting up your tailbone, stretching your hips back. You're going to go into child's pose, but then lift up your knees and then keep your knees bent as you stretch your chest back. So we're getting a little more stretch in our glutes here by keeping the knees bent. And then check your rib cage. A lot of times we have a tendency to let the ribs kind of drop a little bit. So I want you to draw your ribs in, lift your belly, and then just push one heel down and go ahead and pedal out those feet. Just feel the stretch in the hamstrings as you're doing your downward facing dog. And then we're going to slowly shift forward to plank. Right? So look forward and then straighten out your spine. So you should make sure your shoulders and wrists are in line. And then we're going to lift up from your tailbone, straight back into your downward facing dog pose. And then come forward back into plank. So you shouldn't have to change anything with your legs and arms. They should be in a good space between them that you can go back and forth between plank and downward facing dog pose without having to move the feet or the hands. Good. Last one, we're going to come to plank, and then we're going to lower your knees down. And then if you have a prop, we're going to go ahead and move that aside. So we're going to come down to the floor onto our belly. So let's go into plank, reaching out through the heels. So holding your plank pose, and then lower your knees first, and then untuck your toes, bend your elbows, and lower yourself down to the floor. So let's start out in crocodile pose. And shift your hips right to left, right to left. Feel your front hip bones and your pubic bone on the mat. So that may mean you have to push a little bit down to feel the pubic bone. And then when you're doing that, I want you to lift up your navel. So as you exhale, see if you can draw your navel in. And then just feel all the way down through your toes. Right? So reach long through your toes, activate the legs, and then completely relax. We're going to be lifting up one leg at a time. So keep your head down first. And we're going to do that same thing again where you're pressing into your hip bones and your pubic bone. And we're going to lift one leg up. So a nice straight leg lengthening and then lowering. Do that again. Left side, lower, right side. One more each one. Okay, and then take a breath, relax for a second, shift your hips. And then we're going to bend your elbows, put your hands under the shoulders. Okay, so we're going to go into a little cobra pose. So drag your hands back isometrically, not literally drag them back, but feel like you're dragging them back. Press into your pubic bone and lift up the chest and lower. So still keep that length all the way down to your toes, that engagement of your abdominals. Try to create some space. Feel like you're lifting up, your navel's moving forward toward your chest. And lower down. Bend your knees and go ahead and swish your legs back and forth or circle them. Extend your legs, press into your hands, come all the way up to your tabletop position. All right, so from here, we're going to tuck the toes under. We're going to float the knees up just a couple inches off the mat. So just a little bit more core engagement. So press into your hands, tuck your toes, exhale, float the knees up. When the knees are off the floor, we're going to let them just sway from side to side, just a little bit to the right and to the left. And then set them down, take a breath, maybe go into a little cow pose, a little cat pose, find your neutral. Inhale through the nose, exhale, float the knees, and then just let them kind of move from side to side. Right? So just feeling a little freedom here. And then set your knees down, and then we're coming into downward facing dog pose. So let's go ahead and lift your tailbone, stretch your hips back, and then peel off. Right? So coming into downward facing dog. Look ahead, walk your feet forward all the way to the top of your mat. Slide your hands up your legs until you come into your half forward fold. Take a breath and exhale, fold. Do that again, half forward fold, and then forward fold. This time we're going to press into your feet and we're going to roll up. So try to think about stacking up each one of your vertebrae until you come all the way up to stand and find your mountain pose. So first, check in with your feet. So look down at them, make sure that your feet are parallel, right? And you're looking at like the number 11. Second toes lined up with the front edge of your mat. And then up your legs, feel the lifting of the arches, up your inner thighs. Check your hips, make sure they feel even. And then all the way up your side body to your shoulders, your neck, and the top of your head. Check your breathing. Okay. On your next in-breath, we're going to stretch the arms up for your extended mountain pose. As you exhale, let your arms come out to the side. We'll bend the knees and come all the way down to touch the earth. Inhale, slide your hands up until you're in your half forward fold, spine is long. Exhale to fold. Grab your blocks Bring them on either side of your mat. So it's always nice to have them available to you just in case you need them. We're going to step back with your left foot. We're coming into our runner's lunge, right? So this just gives you like a little bit more space, right? So if your hands are down and you feel like your chest is like jammed into your thigh, you can actually lift off with your blocks. And just remember that your blocks have levels, right? So you can turn them up as high as you need them. All right, let's go ahead and just sink your hips like you're gonna land your knee towards the floor, but don't let it touch the floor. Just come until you feel that big stretch in the front of your thigh, and then you're gonna pull it up away from the floor. So do that again, let it sink, and then pull it up. 2 more, sink it, and you should feel a big stretch as you sink. And last one, sink, and pull up. Good, now we're actually gonna let the knee come down. And we're gonna untuck the toes. All right, so aligning your front foot, so it should have ankle here, right under the knee. And then your back leg should be slightly back, so you should feel the stretch in the hip flexor. Let's float the arms up. And then bend your elbows to the side, take a little cactus arms here. Deep breath in and out of your nose. And then still feel that containment here. So you're not letting your belly relax, we're still holding it, little tone in the belly, protecting that low back. You can press into the tops of your left foot, so the toes are pressing in. That'll help create some stability. Let the arms come down, maybe to your blocks if you want to try it. We're going to go into downward facing dog pose. So if you want to keep your hands elevated, go ahead and tuck your toes under and float up. Bend your knees and straighten them. Shift forward to plank pose with your hands up on blocks. This gives you a little bit more space. And then lift your hips up high. Do that again, forward to plank. And then downward facing dog pose. Walk your feet forward all the way up to the top of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. And then press down into your feet, rolling up to mountain pose. Just taking a breath or two here, checking in. Inhale, arms forward and up. As you exhale, arms come down. Forward fold. Halfway lift. Exhale, fold. All right, you're stepping back with the right foot this time into your runner's lunge. So use your blocks here if you need them. Breathe. We're going to sink. Just let the knee come almost to the mat and then lift it back up. 3 more like that. Sink. Just feel the stretch. Come out of the stretch. 2 more. And then next time, just let that knee come all the way down. Untuck your toes. Walk your hands up to your thigh. Check. Make sure you feel strong, grounded in the back leg. Lifting up here from navel. Arms reach high, elbows bend. Deep breath in and out of the nose. Exhaling, bring your hands to your blocks. Maybe on that lower setting or maybe even higher. And let's go ahead and try our downward facing dog pose again. Stretching back, bending the knees, straightening them. Shifting forward plank, downward facing dog. 1 more time, forward, downward facing dog pose. And then we're stepping our feet together. We're going to float the right leg up. So slide it back, lift it up. And then bend your knee. We're going to bring it into the chest. We're going to bring it all the way forward and you're going to place it between the blocks. Right, so you're back in that runner's lunge on the right side. Lengthen spine. Inhale, let's reach the right arm up. Exhale, bring it down. And then we're going to go ahead and pivot on your left foot, so let it land. And then we're coming up to warrior 1. So walking your hands all the way up. And once you get there, put your hands right on the front of your hips. Find your front hip bones and make sure they're both facing forward. All right, we're going to bend both of your knees. And then you're going to straighten the back legs. They're really strong, engaging your glutes and make sure your glutes are working here.
Drawing up from the midline all the way up, both arms reach high. Front knee can stay slightly bent, or you can deepen the bend. Good, let your arms come all the way down. We're gonna fold our arms and put them on your sacrum. Take a breath while hinging forward. So taking that humble warrior. So keeping the hands where they are, or perhaps if you want to, you could clasp them and or maybe straighten the arms if that feels okay on the shoulders. Check your feet, make sure they didn't become loose away from the floor. So all your feet, toes, everything pressing in, especially the back foot. Good. Exhale, bring your hands back down to your blocks. And then we're going to take a breath. You're going to move your blocks up maybe to the higher setting. Lift your chest, and we're going to peel off their left heel. Slowly start to float the leg up. Bend your knee in toward your chest, and then land it. So you're in your standing forward bend. Shake it out. Press into your feet, roll up to stand. Find your mountain pose. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, arms reach down, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Move your hands down to the lower setting. Good, stepping back. Finding your low lunge or runner's lunge, we're going to sweep the left arm up. Exhale, bring it down. Put your blocks on the lowest setting. Step back to downward facing dog pose. Inhale, shift forward to plank. One more like that. Downward facing dog. And plank pose. Good, we're going to make a transition down to the floor so you can move your blocks aside. Move to your plank or modified plank. Exhale, lower to the earth. So this time we're going to go into our locust pose. So let's start with the legs. Great, so pressing those hip bones down into the ground. Pubic bone, we're going to lift just the legs. Once the legs are lifted, reach the arms long by your side and pull your front of your shoulders away from the earth. And then see if you can peel your chest up a little bit more. Good, stay up and breathe. So your hands can be reaching long toward your toes. You could also clasp your hands here. Good, see if you can rock a little bit to the right and to the left. So both of your hip bones on the ground, then come back to center. And then gradually releasing everything to the earth. Arms, legs, chest. Take a deep breath in. Exhale it out. Bend your elbows, bring your hands under the shoulders. Let's press up into tabletop. And then cow pose. And then child's pose. And then rock a little bit once you're in your child's pose, a little bit from right to left. And then see if you can settle in a little closer to the earth. Stack up your hands if you need to rest the head and breathe. Notice your breath. Noticing if it's deeper, fuller, and notice if you can feel it all the way down into your hips and pelvis. Inhale, extend the arms forward, coming back up to tabletop. Tuck your toes under, reach your hips back, and then peel up into downward facing dog pose. Pedal out your feet, shake out your head and neck. Stepping your feet together, left leg reaches back and up. Bend your knee, pull it into your chest, bring it all the way forward, plant it. And then anchor right heel down. We're coming up warrior one. Walk your hands up, your legs, for that strong connection to the earth. We're going to bend both of your knees and just straighten the back leg. Really press down into the heel. Feel equally weighted on both of your legs, hips facing forward, arms reach high. Okay, so feel that energy going all the way up. So you almost feel like it's zipping up all the way through the top of your head. Let your arms come down. And then hands go onto your sacrum, exhale, hinge. As soon as you hinge forward, check your back foot. Because a lot of times we move our weight away from it, it wants to come off the floor. So I want you to really ground through the heel. So humble warrior, you can stay in half lift or you can come deeper. You can also clasp your hands here. So lots of options. Just take what you need. Place your hands down, either your blocks or the floor. Taking your time, we're going to lift up the heel and then picking up the leg, bending it into your chest, and then setting it down next to your left foot. Standing forward bend. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. And then rolling up to stand in mountain pose. All right, so we're going to do a little stretch, and we're going to feel this a lot in our outer legs and outer hips. So we're going to stand up a little bit closer towards the right side of your mat. We're going to bring the right foot behind the left foot, so your feet are crossed. So before we do anything, I want you to lift and spread your toes on both your feet and then press down into your toes and heels. You could put a little tiny bend in your knees to feel more stable here. All right, right arm is going to reach up and over. And you're going to look down at the floor for this one and breathe. And your left arm can just hang by your side. You can also fold it behind your back. And just experience this stretch. Notice where you're feeling it. You might feel it on your lower back. You might feel it in your outer hip. You might feel it down your leg. Okay, last breath. Take your time to come out of it. So arm first. Then uncross your legs, stand in mountain pose, just feel your feet, shake out your legs a little bit here. Roll the shoulders and breathe. And then we're gonna switch legs. So I just like to step a little closer towards the left side since I'm crossing my leg behind. So left foot is gonna cross behind right. And then pressing down into your feet, you can lift and spread your toes, like ground them. Right, maybe put a little soft bend in your knees. Inhale, left arm up, and then we're taking side bend, looking down at the floor, and perhaps the right arm, if you want to, you could wrap it behind your back. Take some deep breaths. Notice where you feel the sensations of stretch here. Your last breath, you can let the arm come down first, then uncross your legs, stand up nice and tall, and just feel your legs underneath of you. Okay, so we're going to go into a chair pose. We're going to be adding in some stuff for more stuff for the hips. So you can use a block if you want to. You can put it between your legs. I like to do mine with a block, and just gives me a little bit more awareness of my inner thighs. All right, so we're bending the knees. As you bend the knees, you want you to reach your hips back like you're going to sit down in a chair, and then put one hand on your sacrum, one hand on your belly. So even here, I want you to check your spine and try to find neutral. So the abs will stay engaged. We're not tucking the tailbone. We're not in our cow pose. So we just want to try to find that neutral. And then you're going to bring your arms back slightly and open up the chest. So palms away, standing in your in your chair pose. Check your feet, make sure they're equally weighted. Good, reach your arms up. And then straighten your legs, bring your hands to your thighs and come into your half forward fold. Think about pushing the block out behind you. So inner thighs are rolling back and apart. Opens up the hips here because your sitting bones will start to separate a little bit more. Feel a little more stretch around your glutes. Okay, let's come back to chair pose. Bend your knees, find your neutral, arms reaching forward and up. And then hands are going to come to your thighs, straighten the legs, half forward fold, push the block back. So inner thighs kind of rolling back, sitting bones separating. Now let's see if you can keep that and fold down to the floor. Keep pressing the block back opening up the inner thighs, sitting bones moving apart. Good, press down on your feet, come up slow. Try not to tuck your tailbone. Keep it nice and open here. And then remove your block. And then once you take your block out, just shake out your legs here and then stand up and feel, right? So feel like trying to create a little bit more space here. Space in your glutes, space in the front of your hips. All right, reach your arms up high. Exhale, arms come out to the side, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. We're gonna step right back into plank pose and lower down to your belly. So we're taking another back bend. So we're gonna do a variation of locust and cobra together. All right, so hands under shoulders. To separate your feet a little wider and then lift your hips off the floor. So lift them away from the floor and then push them down into the floor. As you push them down into the floor, lift your chest and then bend your elbows, lift your legs up. Lower the legs, lift the chest. So think about like a seesaw here. Legs come up as chest goes down. Legs come down as chest lifts. Good, just do two more. Lift the legs like you're doing locust. Lower the legs and go into cobra. Good, one more. And then lower everything. Stack up your hands. Crocodile pose. Bend your knees and circle. Circle other way. And stretch out the legs. Hands under shoulders, tabletop position. Good, let's go ahead and circle here. So we're gonna set up for our stretch, right? So I said we're gonna do today probably a pigeon or a lizard, depending on your body and what you need. Okay, so deeper hold, longer hold postures. I want you to have support. So if you have a bolster, you could use a bolster. You can use blankets, you can use pillows, whatever you need. So if you're taking pigeon, you could do it on the floor, right? And you can use your bolster or you can use a block underneath of your hip. So that would be, I usually come in from downward facing dog pose. I float my leg up and then you're going to bend your knee and you're going to bring your leg forward of the bolster, right? So you're going to lay it down. Your hip is actually going to be resting on the bolster for support. Right, the back leg, if you want to straighten it, you can, but you can also keep it slightly bent. And then you would use your blocks here for support. So that could be an option, right, if you're a little tighter for your hips. If you can come all the way down and it doesn't hurt your knee, because that's not what you want, you don't want to feel this in your knee joint, then you can come down and maybe just put a blanket or a block underneath your hip. But if none of that works for you, then I would just choose to do lizard pose. And you can still use your bolster, right? So you can bring your blocks in, you would turn your foot out a little bit, and then you just kind of sink in so that the front of your thigh is actually up against the bolster. My knee is touching the floor, but it's not pressing into the floor. But you could also put a blanket underneath the knee, right? So this would be your variation of lizard, right? And you can use your blocks for support for your arms. Maybe come down to the forearms, or if you have a lot of space, you can come even further down than this. Okay, so this is where you're going to kind of have to figure out what works for you, right, in this posture. You want to feel sensations of stretch, like around the hip and the groin area, but you definitely don't want to feel any sort of discomfort or pain, especially in the knees, right? So you got to take care of those guys. So the third variation, you would use a chair. And the chair can be tricky too, depending on your flexibility. But you could put a bolster on it, and then you would just bring your leg up onto the chair like this. So you'd be standing up, right, this whole time. And then this way you have a little more control over how much you're getting into the hip. And then you put your hands on the back of the chair. You could walk them down a little bit more, and you have the ability to be able to go deeper or more up, right? So I like this variation a lot, especially if you have, any kind of knee or hip replacement. This is a little safer for that, right? So you have to decide too if that works. And sometimes it's like you do one on one side and another variation on the other side, depending on what's going on with your body. You got 3 choices. Go ahead and pick which one you like. We'll stay in it for a couple of minutes, so don't worry, like you're not rushing. I want you to really relax into it and let go. And I just like to use a block underneath mine. And then once you're in the posture, just keep checking in and making sure that everything feels comfortable and good. You'll feel some sensations, but you're not going to feel anything that's going to be sharp or painful, right? So just make sure that you're checking in the whole time. The breath is also going to be a good monitor. So if your breath starts to shorten or you get really tense, then obviously that means you need to make a shift. So check your breath always. And because we all have different bodies and we all have different shaped bones, everyone's going to have a different need and a different place they're going to be in this particular posture. It's not about flexibility, honestly. It's more about how your hip is and your bones going into your joints, and joints have different range of motions depending on that. So just know that because you feel like you're not flexible, that's not the reason. It just means more how your bones are shaped. And it's a very, very, very wide range. Okay, so we're going to take our time to come out of it. So just as long as you took to get in it, don't rush out of it, right? So take your time and you can make your way back into a child's pose. You could make your way into a downward facing dog pose. You could do a tabletop here, maybe just do some circles. You could circle the leg out. So whatever you need, right? As you come out of this pose, just to feel the blood flowing back into the hips, then go ahead and do that. Just take the time, just easing back. And then if like on this side of your body, you have something else going on that you need to make a modification for, then go ahead and do that, because each side of your body is different, right? You might have completely different pose on the other side. So choose wisely, right? Take what you need. So you can either do that supported one, the bolster, you could do the one in the chair, you could do the lizard. You can come in through it any way you want. Either from tabletop, downward facing dog, and obviously we do it from the chair, you do it from standing. As you come forward, you're gonna feel it right away. Like, where do I feel it? And like, if you feel it in your knee joint, then you might just do a lizard on that side. So don't let the knee, because any pain in the knee is just not even acceptable. So don't think, oh, it's going to go away. It won't. Or if it does, you'll feel it later. So just honor that in your body. And then take your time to come in. So your body has to kind of accept where you are and it has to let go. It might get a little tense first, and you breathe into it and then you move a little deeper into the posture. And if it gets to the point where it's just not feeling good, then you come out early and you can take any pose you like that feels good. And at this point, this is not happening on this side of my body anymore. So I'm going to go right into lizard from here. So this is the kind of stuff that you have to do. You have to honor where you are. Just a few more breaths here. And then start to just ease yourself out of the posture. So taking your time. Moving through a cat and cow, some torso circles, child's pose, downward facing dog, whatever you feel like you need right now. Go ahead and move into it. And then we're going to make our way. We'll all meet in a seated position. So find a comfortable seat and any props that you want. So we are going to be using a strap today. If you want, you use a strap. Otherwise, you can just use your blanket, right? So if you have a blanket or a towel, you can also use that. And you just open it up, roll it up like this. So either one's fine. So we're going to sit up on a prop to make sure your hips are happy here. You're going to rock from right to left. I want you to feel your sitting bones. So moving flesh away so that you can feel your sitting bones. And you may need to bend your knees. So if you are rounded in your spine, bend your knees and you'll sit right up on your sitting bones. Okay, strap. You're going to place it around your feet. So around both of your feet. And then if you can do this. You could buckle it around your hips. If your strap is not long enough, you're going to hold on to it. But if you have a long enough strap, you're going to buckle it around yourself. Stretch. So it just gives you something to push against, and then you can move your buckle so it's kind of like right along your thigh. So your strap is going to be fairly low. Like mine is all the way down around my sacrum. That's how low my belt is in the back, right? So my knees are bent because my hamstrings are a little tight, and I'm sitting up on my sitting bones, and I'm pushing my feet out into the strap. Okay, so this is where you can start. You can stay here sitting up. If you want to come forward a little bit, you can slide your hands down your legs and just until you feel the stretch. If you're using the belt tied around you, you're going to feel that energy of the belt kind of helping you to stay aligned. So it really kind of helps with the back too. Right? If you don't have a belt and you're using this blanket here, you're going to put it around your feet and you're going to hold on to it like this. I do love this one. I love the feeling of the blanket around the bottoms of my feet. It feels nice. And if you've never tried it with that, I encourage giving that a try one day if you're using the belt right now. And then just make sure that the belt is up around the balls of your feet, right? And then push equally into your feet too. Because a lot of times our feet will do this like sickling thing and your inner feet will turn in, or something weird like that'll happen. So I want you to press equally from the big toe out to the pinky toe. So this really helps with alignment. Feet help with alignment of your hips. Couple more breaths. And then we're going to take our time to come out of it. So you'll bend your knees and then the strap will just come off and you can just set it aside. And we're going to bend our knees in. We're going to bring the soles of your feet together and we're going to hold on to your ankles. Right? So we're sitting up tall. So bring your knees in to start out with. Press the soles of your feet together and you're going to let your legs lower equally on both sides. So watch. Because what will happen is one will go down further than the other, but I don't want you to allow that to happen. So you're going to stop. So if one leg stops, stop the other one. Don't let that continue to go down because then you're going to be lopsided. So lift up that side so it's equal on both. Press into your sitting bones, draw your shoulders back and sit tall. Close your eyes. Keep pressing soles of your feet together. Check in with your breath. Still feel those sitting bones and tailbone. Notice if you feel your breath more on one side of your pelvis than the other. And then keep pressing your feet together so you can make that even on both sides. Okay, last breath. Open your eyes, draw your knees together. All right, we're gonna make our way down to the floor. So any props that you're gonna need will be for your Shavasana. So go ahead and grab whatever you want. If you want your bolster, pillows, blankets, something for your head. And make your way down to the floor. Once you get down there, let your knees drop into your chest. Don't hold them with your arms. Just let the knees drop in and notice if you got your legs in a little closer toward your chest this time. We did this at the beginning. I don't know if you remembered, but just check and see because we loosened up a lot of things. And then just let your legs just kind of move from side to side, maybe some circles here. Go the other way. Stretch your legs up, give them a shake out. And then stretch your arms up and we'll circle the wrists and the ankles both directions. Shake everything out. And then lower your feet and lower your arms. So for your Shavasana, you want to find something that supports your hips. So you could do like maybe a bolster underneath of your legs. I'll show you what that looks like. And then maybe a little prop for underneath of your pillow or something to support your head and neck. And then you can also support your feet. So for example, bolster under your legs, and then you could either use a folded blanket so that your feet are just not dangling in space. So you lay that down so that your heels rest on it. And then you would have another one for a pillow, or if you have a pillow, you can cover up. You can put something heavy on your hips too. So maybe something right here in the top of your thighs, just to settle the hips in. Ideally, a sandbag would work really nice here. If you happen to have a sandbag, you would lay it right across the top of your thighs, or you could put a blanket with perhaps a weight or two on it just to give you a little bit more weight. It does feel quite amazing if you've never done it with that before. So it just gives you that little bit of release and relaxation and lets the breath really flow in and out. So if you try it another time and see how it feels if you don't have that prop available to you today. All right, so settle in, make sure you feel comfortable. So as you lay down and you get into your position, if something feels uncomfortable, go ahead and make that adjustment first, and then you'll feel so much better as you go into your final posture. Take a deep breath and notice. Check in with the mind. So we start to release things in our hips, your mind starts to get a little more quiet and a little more spacious. Just let everything relax. You want to feel like your bones are heavier and they're just dropping down into the ground. And then all the muscles, the ligaments, the tissues just release all around the bones. Arms are heavy, legs are heavy, spine is heavy, back of your head is heavy. Just releasing any tension, shoulders, hips, jaw. Tending to your breath as it flows in and out of the nose. Just allow your breath to slow down. As you completely relax here, just allow your body to receive the benefits from your practice today. Just allow your body to receive that gift of yoga and spending time with yourself, taking care of your body. Just a way of self-care, self-love.
So let's just start to wiggle the toes and circle the ankles. And then wiggle the fingers, circle the wrists, and then we'll stretch, reach the arms up over your head, extend the legs, deepen your breath. And then as you exhale, we're gonna bend the knees. If you happen to have a bolster here, you're gonna put your feet on top of it. And as your arms come down, we're gonna just do some slow windshield wipers. Feet on the floor or feet up on your bolster. Nice wide legs. And just allow your body to release. Let's do one more each side. And then you can bring your knees in. Give yourself a hug. Gently rock to your side. And then slowly pressing yourself up. So take your time to come up to seated. Finding a comfortable seat. Close your eyes once you get there. And then just check in with your body. Feel your hips. Feel supported underneath of you. Feel your sitting bones. Feel your entire spine lengthening. And then we'll inhale, reach the arms up. Join your palms together, exhaling, bring your hands into heart center. So you're bringing that intention back into your heart. And just a gentle nod of the chin towards the chest. Acknowledging your intention, finding gratitude for being here, showing up for your practice. And we'll inhale, bring your thumb knuckles up to your third eye point. The light in me honors the light in you. Thank you and namaste.